Breaking tonight, moments ago, the Canadian Parliament voted to join in the effort to beat back the terror army known as ISIS. The vote was tight, though. The measure approving air combat missions passed by a margin of just a couple dozen votes, 157 to 134. The motion authorizes airstrikes in Iraq for up to 6 months and explicitly states that no ground troops be used in combat operations. Also breaking tonight, just 24 hours after we heard dire warnings of a possible massacre in the Middle East, the Obama administration confirming that the threat is real, predicting it may happen any moment, and they do not sound optimistic about stopping it. There is dark news out of the Middle East tonight as ISIS appears poised to take another city. Amateur video just coming in from northern Syria. A group of outgunned folks targeted by ISIS, now fighting for their lives against the advancing terrorists in a struggle now getting worldwide attention. For weeks, the Obama administration has been monitoring the battle around the city of Kobani, that's on the border of Turkey and Syria, and ordering airstrikes against certain ISIS targets. But those airstrikes have failed to stop the terrorists' advance. And we are now told that roughly 200,000 people may have escaped the city and sought refuge across the border in Turkey, but an unknown number remain behind. Turkey's sitting there refusing to get involved on the ground. All in the region are looking to America. And our answer today was ground troops are not coming. A short time ago, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, said this city may fall.
Well, it may be about to fall. The ISIL fighters have been putting pressure on the outskirts of the city and, in fact, into the city itself. I am fearful that Kobani will fall. I have no doubt that ISIL will conduct the same kind of horrific atrocities if they have the opportunity to do so.
Tonight, just as we saw last night, the black flags of ISIS wave over this desperate city in which civilians are waiting and wondering. Moments before we came to air, I spoke with a man who is a senior Kurdish intelligence official not far from the fighting, Rosh Bashat, and I asked him, what will happen if Kobani falls to ISIS?
Well, hopefully Kobani won't fall. Today we appreciate the fighting men and women of the United States Air Force in their effort to prevent Kobani from further taking part of the city. They've done an outstanding job forcing Kobani not to advance. They've had multiple targets which have given cause to the Kurdish people as a whole. Now, if these airstrikes were to slow down and stop, Kobani would most likely fall. And if this happens, it would be massacre of the biblical proportions. The bloodthirsty ISIS terrorists are now converging on the city of Kobani from three sides. And keep in mind, this is the might of ISIS now. We know from intelligence before that ISIS has taken forces from Mosul, taken forces from Raqqa, taken forces from Salah ad-Din and Diyala provinces, and Kirkuk province, and also Ramadi province, and have taken more than 75 tanks, which ISIS captured from both the Syrian government and the Iraqi government. There are American-made Humvees, now armored Humvees, moving towards Kobani. And all this just to ensure the fall of the city of Kobani. There are more than 9,000 fighters, mostly, yes, ma'am.
So you are telling, I mean, just the connection is a little fuzzy, so I want to confirm. You're saying that if this city falls, there will be a massacre of biblical proportions. Is it not the case that most of the citizens, most of the civilians have made it out of the city?
Ma'am, the people of Kobani are very resilient people. They are brave people. Most of them have decided to stay. We believe there are in excess of 50,000 civilians still inside the city, another 10 to 20,000 on the outskirts of the city towards between Turkey. And these people would rather die fighting than just give their city to ISIS.
Wow. Joining me now, Tom McInerney, a retired United States Air Force Lieutenant General and a Fox News contributor. And Pete Hegseth is a veteran of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, CEO of Concerned Veterans for America, and a Fox News contributor. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us tonight. And so you put it in perspective for us, because the UN tonight is saying, General, that Kobani cannot fall, that we cannot allow ISIS to capture another city. And yet Chairman Dempsey is saying it's going to fall. The Turks came out to say today and said it's about to fall. And this gentleman who's in the region says if it falls, we're going to see the slaughter of thousands.
Well, Megan, this is a very dark day in America's history and our American military forces. This administration has deliberately let Kobani be in a position where they cannot survive. We have not used our air power. We have not used our forces and information dominance to stop ISIS from even getting to Kobani, which they could have. And your previous speakers pointed out the forces are being marshaled from all over the Middle East to go to Kobani. We could have stopped that. So this is a disgrace. This administration is going to be complicit in this slaughter, as well as the Turkish government. It is a very dark day.
Why didn't we stop it? I get the Turks don't want to get involved. They don't like the Kurds. They don't want to get involved. And they're waiting for us to put our boots on the ground. But why didn't we stop it with more airstrikes?
Well, I think if you listen to Bill O'Reilly and Secretary Panetta, you understand why this president made the decision not to do it. This is coming from my sources. It's coming directly from the White House in a minimalist campaign, and they're just doing it for political purposes before 4 November. I do not have the exact answer, but any basic airman knows that we could have stopped them because it's perfect territory for air power. There's not a tree out there when you see it. It's flat or rolling hills. We could have stopped them marshaling. We could have stopped them in the city. We can even stop them in the city. It's harder, but we have that information dominance to do it. And we had 5 airstrikes today. How about 1,000, Megan? Then you see if they would be taking that city. There should have been 1,000 strikes in there today.
You know, Pete, today the State Department defended our approach there, and the Pentagon made clear we are not going to change course, that we feel we're doing enough there. And they clearly don't seem to value a strategic area, Kobani. How bad will it be if ISIS takes over?
Well, the Pentagon's going to have to spin this as best they can, but this is a manifestation of a JV strategy in Kobani right now, and it's a crystallization of all the things that are wrong right now in our strategy in Iraq and Syria. With our allies, they don't have the weaponry they need. Our Kurds, alongside Israel, the closest allies we have in that region, they're using small, light weapon systems against a heavily armed enemy that's laying siege to Kobani right now, and we haven't gotten them the weapons when they need it. These airstrikes, as the general mentioned, we're hitting individual targets and talking about the number of strikes. Clearly, it's not strategically significant, and it hasn't changed the game at all. This is a faux air campaign. And then when you talk about our alliance, the most powerful imagery of today's siege is the tanks, the Turkish tanks on the border, just watching this happen. It really reminds us
Turkey, which is a NATO member.
It's a NATO member, how difficult building an actual armed alliance is. They're supposed, but of course, the enemy of their enemy is Assad. They really want to take out Bashar al-Assad, not ISIS, and they don't trust the Kurds.
So the Turks are out. I mean, they are not going to help with this. But in the meantime, you got some 5,000 or more innocent civilians waiting there as ISIS is storming the city on 3 sides. And there's a question about why we're not more concerned. I mean, you heard General Mack talk about whether his heart is in it, and O'Reilly asked Leon Panetta about that moments ago. Listen.
We're in decline now. Would that be a fair statement?
I think right now
we're in decline.
With ICE, we govern either by leadership or crisis, and today we are largely governing by crisis.
Your thoughts on that, Pete?
Megan, we've overpromised and underdelivered. We set out a mission of destroy, and instead we're barely degrading and not doing anything strategically significant. So our allies thought the white horse was coming in the Americans to roll back this ISIS threat. Instead, we've allow ourselves to be governed by rules of engagement, a fear of any civilian casualties whatsoever. So these airstrikes are hitting individual vehicles, which doesn't have a strategic impact. And I know General McInerney, with his background, understands how insignificant these strikes are if you want to roll back and destroy ISIS.
Isn't that how we have to do it? General McInerney, isn't that how we have to do it? Should we go in there and be careless about civilians? Won't we get compared to the enemy if we do that?
We're talking about the wrong issue. Driving from Mosul to Raqqa to Kobani, there aren't civilians there. There were too many opportunities, Megan, where there were no civilians. There are too many opportunities out there right now where there are no civilians. The point is, we don't have the numbers. We are doing this in such a puny amount. It is a deliberate affront to air power, to Americans. Every American ought to be ashamed with what's going over there today and the slaughter that is going to follow on to this. It is a low, low day.
All right.
We lack the intelligence to know what targets to hit because we don't have people on the ground.
I got to go. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.